Hello and welcome to another edition of List Management Monday. On today's episode, we're going to look at the possible list strategies of 4 clubs, including the Greater Western Sydney Giants, Melbourne Demons, Western Bulldogs and Collingwood Football Club. As per previous episodes, we're first going to look at the next generation academies before we delve into the list strategies of all 4 clubs. Up first, we have the Greater Western Sydney Giants, who occupy about 70% of the state of New South Wales. In and surrounding the Central Coast, including the ACT, as well as along the Victoria and New South Wales border in the Riverina region. The Riverina region has garnered them a lot of talent since their formation in 2009. The Sydney Swans, who only occupy about 30% of the state, occupy mainly the densely populated area in and surrounding the capital in Sydney. In Victoria, the Melbourne Football Club occupy the development pathway system from the southeastern region of Melbourne Metro through the Dandenong region, through Casey, along the Mornington Peninsula. In white, we see the Collingwood Football Club occupy more so the central metro Melbourne region. To the left of screen, we have the Western Bulldogs, who occupy the development pathway from the Western Metro Melbourne region through to the border of South Australia. So the majority of the western side of Victoria has been occupied by the Western Bulldogs. Up north in Northern Territory, the Melbourne Football Club run the development pathway around the Alice Springs area and the surrounding communities in the southern part of Northern Territory. Collingwood Football Club in the white run the development pathway amongst all the communities around Tennant Creek. And both clubs share this region up here at the northern tip of Northern Territory with the other Victorian clubs. Okay, let's look at the Greater Western Sydney Giants first up. So they are currently 10th on the AFL ladder. They finished second in the 2019 Premiership, so that means it's a bit of a drop in 2020. However, their list size for 2020 is 45. Their average age in 2020 is 24.7, which is the 5th oldest list in the AFL, and their average games is 68.9, which is the 6th most experienced AFL list. If we look at their age profile, they have 7 in the 30-plus age bracket, including Heath Shaw, Shane Mumford, Sam Jacobs, Sam Reid, Matt DeBoer, Callum Ward, and Lockie Keefe. They have 2 players in the 28 to 30, 16 in the 23 to 27 age bracket, and 18 to 22, they have 19 players. Looking at the Greater Western Sydney Giants, they have 2 A-grade players in Josh Kelly and captain Stephen Canelio. Their emerging talent in their list is Tim Taranto at 22 years of age, Harry Perryman, who's come on over the past couple of years at 21. Jake Riccardi at 20 years old has got a couple of games under his belt this year and has been an emerging key position forward talent. And obviously their academy pick from last draft, Tom Green at 19 years of age, has come on really as a good inside midfield player. Their untouchables at the Greater Western Sydney Giants going forward, obviously Lockie Whitfield, who in fact is coming out of free agency in 2021. Toby Green, who is their stand-in captain at 26 years of age. Stephen Canelio at 26. Josh Kelly at 25, who recently signed a 7-year deal with the Giants. Jeremy Finlayson at 24, Tim Taranto, as we've said, at 22 years of age, Harry Perryman at 21, and Tom Green at 19 years of age. I would have actually had Zach Williams in that age bracket as well at 25 years old. However, he's at free agency at the moment, who is going to be testing the waters. The needs for Greater Western Sydney Giants going forward, obviously having both Mumford and Jacobs over the age of 30, Mumford actually being at 33 years of age. They don't actually have any ruck depth. Their two other ruckmen at 20 and 22 have not played a game as of yet. They will also need to start looking at their key position defensive depth, as well as the small defenders, in particular if they lose Zach Williams. 2021 and beyond, they're going to look at trading out their mid-range talent to trade in more draft picks. Because as I said earlier, they were the premiership favourites last year in 2019. However, finishing second, the door is slowly closing on their premiership window. So they're going to have to start looking at topping up again on that draftable talent and the best available talent. Going forward as well in 2021, at the end of this year, they're going to be drafting in Josh Green, brother of Tom, who is a key position forward as well. I'll now open it up to Greg for a bit of discussion on their list.
Yeah, so GWS are a bit of an interesting one. They've got so many free agent players coming up this year and next year that if the majority of those go, I think there's going to be a bit of a talent depth there, especially in the ruck, as you just discussed before. I think that with Sam Jacobs and Mumford almost, they could retire at any moment, really. They're going to need to either go and find a ruckman in that age bracket of 24 to 27, or they're going to need to go heavily in the draft and get the best available ruckman, the best ruckman that's available. So I see them stagnating a bit. At now, they're right at the crossroads. They can either rebuild or they can try and top up. So they're kind of in a weird state. And if stuff plans out the way I think it will, I think they might be in for a mini rebuild.
Yeah, I agree. And there's three players that I didn't name here in particular, and that's Jeremy Cameron. He's at 27 years of age. He's already the highest paid player in the AFL under the Giants list. And if I was the Greater Western Sydney Giants, I believe I'd let him go as an unrestricted free agent. He's obviously going to top up another list and be forward for them, but he has stagnated himself, so I believe he might be on the way out. So he could obviously net a couple of draft picks if GW match his free agency. You've obviously got Zach Williams at 25. Another one that could net a first-round draft pick because he's only a restricted free agent this year. And the other one is Aidan Corr, who's been linked to a couple of Victorian clubs. Aidan Corr's 25 and is a key position defender that might be able to top up a premiership contender in Victoria. Being only 25, could net himself a good contract being a restricted free agent.
Yep, I agree with all that.
Yep. So let's move on to another system-based team in Melbourne Football Club. So the Melbourne Football Club, like the Greater Western Sydney Giants, are a very system and structural-based team in the way they operate both on-field and off-field. So the Melbourne Football Club are currently sitting 9th on the AFL ladder with a list size of 45, 6 rookies and 1 Category B included in that. Their list average age is at 24.2, which is the 9th oldest list in the AFL. And their average games is 61.1, which is the 11th most experienced list in the AFL, which says to me that they should be, from the stats, in their premiership window at the moment. Their age profile, they have 3 with the 30-plus age bracket, including Nathan Jones at 32 years of age and Michael Hibberd and Neville Jetta being at 30 years of age. In their 28 to 30, they have 5 players. Their 23 to 27 peak age bracket is at 22, with most of those players being around that 24 to 27 age bracket. And their young list is 15 for that 18 to 22. For the Melbourne Football Club's list, their only A-grader, I believe, is Max Gawn. They have a lot of potential talent to get into that A-grade bracket. However, Max Gawn is the only A-grade player that can really break open a game for Melbourne Football Club at the moment, and is often too often relied on in each game that he's in. The emerging talent, I've put in a couple of players that have been around for the last couple of years because they are still emerging, and that is Christian Petrarca at 24 years of age has only really come on in 2020 and shown what he is capable of. Clayton Oliver at 24 years of age is still at times inconsistent. However, he is a two-time All-Australian and two-time best and fairest for the Melbourne Football Club at 24 years of age. So he still has that potential to be an A-grade talent. Sam Wiedemann, drafted a few years ago with a lot of hype and a lot of potential at pick 9, is at 22 years of age and has started to show his development as a key position forward. And then we have Luke Jackson at 18 years of age, drafted with pick 3 in 2019. He's an emerging talent for the replacement ruck forward depth for the Melbourne Football Club. Going forward, I've put 4 untouchables for Melbourne. That is Max Gawn. Although he's getting on with age, he's at 27, 28 bracket. Then you've got Christian Petrarca at 24, Stephen May at 28 years of age, and Clayton Oliver at 24. Their needs going forward is outside run. As we've seen, they brought in both Adam Tomlinson and Langdon last year as outside run. However, Tomlinson is now considered as a key position defender for the Melbourne Football Club. So they will go back to the trade and free agency to look for another outside runner, which possibly could be a Rory Atkins type. But Langdon will, at 24 years of age, be on the other wing for the years to come. The other need they have, which they lack at the moment, is a key position forward. Obviously, Tom McDonald at 27 years of age had a really good 2018 year, but he has stagnated in his development a little bit. And obviously, the big loss of Jesse Hogan has left a big gap in their forward line structure. 2021 and beyond, I believe they're going to look to their trade and free agency, being that they should be in that premiership window, and they're going to look, obviously, for more key position and outside midfield depth. Over to you, Greg.
Yeah, Melbourne are an interesting one for me. They've got a lot of players which I'd consider not list cloggers, but I don't think will ever develop to the level of what they're hoping that they'll get to. They've got a big chunk of players in that 22 to 27 range, which I just feel that they're lacking a little bit of talent. So I think that Melbourne are a real tough one because they've gone after the older players. They've gone after Lever and Stephen May to try and plug holes. But I honestly think that Melbourne need to go back to the draft. They need to try and rebuild that list. They definitely need another key position forward. If they can get an older one like Brody Mychek might be available for next to nothing, that'd help. But I really think they need a list overhaul, especially in that range of 20 to 27.
Yeah, and as we've said, that Melbourne Football Club is a very structural and system-based team from the coaching structure down. So they have looked to get a lot of role players over the last few years, and that's just plugged holes here and there with that mid-range talent. And Jake Lever, being 24 years of age, has been seen as a long-term key position defender. They will have to eventually replace Stephen May because he is at the end of his peak age bracket. But they will, in my opinion, look to keep filling holes. And one of their biggest holes is obviously that outside run, because they've always been known as a key position, a contested team inside, but with their system, they've often adapting on that style, and now they're looking to adapt a more outside team and a more skill-based team. So unfortunately, they don't have the cattle to have that skill-based team at the moment. So they look to that free agency and that trade to bring a couple in. And you saw last year even, they traded away 2020's first-round draft pick because they saw Cozzy Pickett as another need-based small forward. So now North Melbourne, if Melbourne finish outside the 8, North Melbourne obviously get 2 first-round draft picks because they traded with North Melbourne. So I think with the link of Viney to test free agency at year's end, being 26 years of age, I heard Geelong have already offered him a deal, but I still feel Viney will probably stay at the Melbourne Football Club. And then obviously there's all these rumours about Angus Brayshaw. And at 24 years of age, what currency does he have at year's end? And he does have a bit of currency. So that being said, Melbourne may not have enough currency at the trade period either. So they are going to have to draft late, having no draft pick in the first round.
Yeah. It's going to be a interesting period for the Melbourne Demons, I think, Brenny.
All right, over to the Western Bulldogs.
All righty, here we go. The Dogs. So they're currently sitting 7th. Their list size for 2020 is 45, with 40 on the main list, 4 rookies and 1 Cat B. Their list average age is 24.2, which is the 8th oldest list in 2020. Their average games is 59, which puts them at the 12th most experienced list. So their age profile. So the oldest on their list is Tory Dixon, Easton Wood, Matt Suckling and Sam Lloyd. And of those, Brennan and I both believe that they've probably got a fair bit of footy left in them. They're all in that younger 30 range, so 31, 32. And for 18 to 22, they've got 20. From ages 23 to 27, 18. And from 28 to 30, they've got 3. So A-grade players, Marcus Bontempelli and Jackson McRae. We had a few others there that might fit in, but we think they've still got some development to do. Their untouchables are Marcus Bontempelli, Jackson McRae, Bailey Smith and Aaron Norton. Their emerging talent, Josh Dunkley at 23, Tim English, which has been a breakthrough year for him, at 22, Bailey Williams at 21, Aaron Norton, Ed Richards and Bailey Smith to round that off. So their needs, we believe there's only one deficiency with the Dogs, and that's their key position depth. So they got Alex Keith in last year to try and plug that, and we think they need to continue to try and find that. So for 2021 and beyond, they need to continue drafting the best available talent, which will, luckily for them, land in their laps this year. And they need to trade in and trade out free agency and look at their needs specifically. So, Brendan, we know that Jamari Ugle-Hagan is going to go number 1 to the Dogs this year, which has been a blessing for them. We know that he will sit very well alongside Aaron Norton. Are there any other players floating around that you think the Dogs should go after in the free agency?
On that, there's one player also in the draft that I think they're going to keep an eye on and hope that falls to their lap in their next pick, and that's Finlay McRae.
Yes, of course.
He's another one, obviously brother of Jackson, and they've been looking at and tracking Finlay for the last few years. So he's another one that they'll look at. I think the Bulldogs will look to free agency to bring in another top midfielder or defender to round that list off in that mid-range to the peak age bracket. But the Western Bulldogs, in my opinion, have the best list in the AFL at this stage. They are dead set centre into their premiership window. Obviously, 2016, they played above themselves and won the premiership. However, with Bontempelli still only 24 years of age, Mitch Wallace has reinvented himself as a medium forward at 27 years of age. They've got Lockie Hunter at 25 on the wing. Obviously, Josh Bruce they brought in at 28 years of age can be that second or third tall forward. So he will help Norton and Jamara over the next couple of years develop in their own right. And then there's guys like Liberatore, who's only 27 years of age, and Caleb Daniel, who has reinvented himself again as a small defender and really killing it back there. And he's only 23, but he's been in the system for the last 5 years. And then they've got someone like Patrick Lipinski, who's in his early 20s, as a medium-sized forward midfielder as well, who's a very, very good role player for them. And as you stated before, Tim English has really come out of his shell as a genuine top ruckman, and he's only 22 years of age. So what they may need to do is look for a bit of that ruck depth for him. However, they've also got other players in the wings who, Josh Shackey at 23 years of age, hasn't played all year, was a pick 2, but was drafted as a forward ruckman as well. So he's also part of their depth.
Yeah, and I should state, when we're talking about list as in we believe it's the best list, we believe this is the best list talent-wise moving forward to develop into something great.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to move on to the Pies. So Collingwood, they're currently 8th. It looks like if they win today, they should make the finals. So their list size for 2020 is 47, with 38 on the main list, 5 rookies and 4 Category B. They actually have the oldest list in the AFL with an age of 25.1. And their average games experience is 76.9, and they're the second most experienced list. So their age profile. So the oldest players on the list are Lyndon Dunn, Scott Pendlebury, Travis Varco, Main, Greenwood, Beams and Reid. Now, Brett and I were talking off camera before, and we believe that probably 3 or 4 of them will retire or be moved on at the end of the year. So in that case, their age profile and their overall list age demographic will drop significantly. So they've drafted quite strongly in the last few years. They're with the 18 and 22 bracket with 17. They've got 18 on the list from 23 to 27 and 5 on the list from 28 to 30. And as you can see, there's 7 that are 30 plus. So A-grade players, one of their oldest, Scott Pendlebury, is still motoring on like the Rolls-Royce that he is. And Brodie Grundy, one of the premier rucks in the competition. The emerging talent, we've seen Braden Maynard really cement his position this year, and Tom Phillips, who has been a stronghold there on the wing for a few years. Josh Dacos has really come on this year on the wing. Jaden Stevenson, he's had a bit of an off year form-wise, but he's still an emerging talent in our eyes. Cullen Brown has had some good form, and Isaac Quain has slotted in nicely there down back. The untouchables for Collingwood, we've got Pendlebury, Grundy and Darcy Moore, and we believe their needs are key position forward and key position depth overall. And for 2021 and beyond, we believe they should draft the best available, look to key position talent, and then also look forward to their NGA and father-son. So some more on that. So this year they've got Reith McGuinness coming through, who's rated around pick 10. He's a tall midfielder / halfback flanker. We've had a little bit to do with him at the Oakley Chargers, and I think Collingwood are going to hope that their first pick lands just in front of Reith so they can get hopefully a key position player and then also Reith McGuinness in this draft. Brendan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. So Reith McInnes obviously is a bit of a utility, and I believe is going to garner a bit of interest, but Collingwood will hope that he falls to their second round pick so they don't have to use that amount of points. But going on the next few years, obviously 2021, they're going to have Nick Dacos available. They've also got other emerging next generation talent, which says to me that they've got a lot of opportunity the next few years to really focus on and develop a lot of their younger players. As we saw this year, Will Kelly's another one that debuted. Unfortunately, he went down with the season-ending elbow injury, but he's a key position talent that can play at either end of the ground that they will really focus on developing over the next few years.
Yeah.
And then obviously your emerging talent like Isaac Quaynor, he's another talent that's really come on in 2020, although he had that injury setback mid-year. And then they've got a lot of other outside run. And Collingwood don't have and don't focus on a lot of their key position talent because they've got a lot of medium-sized running skillful players on the outside, including your Hoskin Elliott's, your Tom Phillips's, your Jaden Stevenson. So they really have focused on that sort of game style over the last couple of years. But going forward, they have looked at the money ball aspect where they've got, the leading goal kicker over the last 3 years in
Mychek.
Yeah. And obviously another one like Jeremy Howe at 29, they may have to think about replacing him over the next couple of years, but he's been a revelation in the defence for them. And then you've got the contract squeeze over the next couple. Obviously, they just re-signed Brodie Grundy for 7 years, but then they've also got Jordan De Goey, who we felt just missed out on an A-grade that A-grade talent aspect due to his inconsistencies at times. So he's just at B+ at the moment, but could be an A-grade talent if he gets that consistency up. But he garnered a bit of interest last time he was out of contract and possibly was going to get $1 million a year. But with the soft cap, obviously that won't happen going forward. But then having to squeeze both Brodie Grundy, Darcy Moore and Jordan De Goey, there will be some movement in that mid-range talent at Collingwood.
Yeah, I agree, Brenny. And I think, Mychek's been their leading goal kicker for pretty much 3 years. He's kicked 82 goals over the last 3 years, so he's been their main focus point. You've got Cox, who, while when he's in form is good, has been very inconsistent this year and has been dropped on a few occasions. So I think that they're going to struggle to find a tall forward that's within the salary cap and someone who can continue to bring the ball to ground. Yes, they have Will Kelly on the list and they've got a few of the Irish boys who they're hoping of coming through, but they haven't been proven yet. So there's rumours floating around that Mychek has just stopped all contract talks at the moment. And I think their key is now to look for either a free agent key position forward of who they can afford, or they've got to work hardest on keeping Mychek, because as much as he's just a role player and a player at the moment, he's going to be their focal point moving forward, I believe.
Yeah, and in saying that too, there's been a lot of talk that Collingwood lack that key forward in there because they are in a premiership window.
Yeah.
And they've already been linked to Ben Brown if he's available, which I believe he's going to test free agency this year, and he's been encouraged to do that by North Melbourne, and obviously who we spoke about before, Jeremy Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
He will be another target for the Collingwood Football Club going into 2021.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for our program today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll have some more talent talk and list management stuff out for you next week. And we hope you enjoy your weekend lockdown, everyone in Melbourne.
Cool.
Cool, thanks.